This neighbor thought replacing a fence was simple, but the judge saw it very differently. No agreement, no permission, and a bill no one wanted to pay. When the judge explained the law, one side instantly lost. This case comes from a United States courtroom. The plaintiff is Randy Vickers. The defendant is his neighbor, Patricia Heitzman. The dispute is about a shared fence between two neighboring properties.
The case of Randy Vickers versus Patricia Heitzman. All right, Mr. Vickers, you can proceed.
Alrighty. This goes back to, let's say, summer of 2024. I had attempted to contact Ms. Heitzman via email. Got no response, so I called her and I had spoke to her in regards to the fence that divides our property, her income property, and my home, and that I would like to address replacing it perhaps next summer, which would be to 2025. And she said she'd be happy to discuss that with me then. Come 2025, I reached out via email first, then attempted a few phone calls. And at one time, her daughter Debbie did answer the phone and told me that she had no knowledge of any of these emails and that I would have to call back and speak with her mother, which I attempted to do approximately 3 times, and then began the string of emails in regards to the fence. I did get a couple responses. They claimed they came out and shook the fence, didn't find any rot or anything. After that, all my attempts to contact and have a conversation with them. During part of the responses of the emails, I was told to take up my issues with the tenant, and it clearly shows that in the string of emails. This is ridiculous why we're here. So anyhow, after several attempts to at least get communication, there was nothing. I got frustrated. I figured there's got to be a lot of this. So I started researching RCWs. I came across RCW 16.60.010 through 095. Okay. And it clearly states in there to do your best and due diligence to resolve issues with your neighboring property owners, which I feel I have done by emails. The proof is all there. My concern was the rotted fence that was in total disarray. There's approximately 15 pictures plus that I have posted here. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to look at it. This fence is clearly rotted. Ms. Heitzman and her daughter will contend that the rest of the fences on my property are all beautiful and newly constructed, and I just needed to complete this fence. But that's not true. Facing my home on the right side of the property, 16 foot is a wooden fence. The back 50 foot was put up by the neighbor next door, 50-foot chain link fence. The back of the property, 70% chain link fence, which belongs to one of my back neighbors. The other one is approximately 30% wood fence, 6 foot in great condition, belongs to back others. So this has nothing to do with wanting to beautify my entire property. This has got to do with a fence that is simply rotted, not maintained, requires replacement. Now, according to the RCWs, everything that I had done fallen in there. I had originally provided Ms. Heitzman with 2 proposals, one from another fence contractor local here and another one from myself. At that time, I was doing business as the guy, the general contractor, which I fully disclosed that information. When all said and done, and not getting any more response, I felt I needed to proceed. My worst case scenario is I'm going to be stuck with this whole bill. So I've done everything I possibly could to negotiate further discounts. I even shopped cheaper fence boards, and I brought it down another $900. So when it's all said and done, I provided Ms. Heitzman with before pictures, during pictures, and after pictures, along with invoice for 50% of the cost, $1,500 and bear with me 1 second here. Just open up here. There we go. 15% was $1,519. That is a total savings of $900 from the original proposal. I couldn't bring it down anymore. Couldn't be any more fairer. This is not about attitude, vengeance, or anything like that. I've never met Ms. Heitzman. I've spoken to her once back in 2024 and attempted to rectify all this without being here.
Mr. Vickers, may I ask a question?
Certainly.
Whose property line is the fence on?
As far as I understand, is down the center. So on both property lines.
Okay. And remind me again of what the total cost was to replace the fence?
The total cost was $39.06.
And did I hear you right that you, that it was your company that did the work?
No, ma'am. I pulled this all away from the company, just reached out to some other individuals that have done work for me and basically told them, hey, this is where I'm at. And this is what's more than likely going to happen. Work with me here, please. Okay. And they came in with the cost they did. I provided the materials because I shot my contractor discount on the materials.
Okay. So it wasn't that you did the work, you were just able to get the materials for cheaper because you're a contractor.
Yes, ma'am. The labor came in cheaper as well. I assure you that.
And how many feet is the fence?
It's 70 foot of shared fence, 70 linear feet. The cost breaks down less than industry standard as well, even on my original proposal.
Anything else you'd like me to know?
Yes, this is Miss Heinzman's income property, one of 14 she owns.
Is it Heitzman or Heinzman?
It's Heitzman. There's no N in it.
My apologies.
I just want to make sure I'm saying it correctly. And who would like to speak?
My mom has asked me to help her with this. She had a stroke this year. She's been hospitalized, and so she has all of us siblings stepping in to help her with things. She asked me to help her with this.
Okay, go ahead.
So my mom did show me the email from Mr. Vickers complaining about the fence and proposing a replacement. So her and I both drove out there to the property and went onto the property through the gate to the backyard, tested the fence. I tested it in multiple locations over about a 30-foot section of it, and I couldn't get that fence to budge. It did not shake. I'm strong. I was shaking it as hard as I could, and it didn't shake. So we actually came back to my mom's house right away, and that same day sent him a reply. This was 4th of July, and I replied to him on my mom's behalf saying, hey, we tested the fence. It seems very sturdy, and we don't think there's any reason to replace it. And he did reply back that same day saying that there was at least one rotten post in the back corner that we must not have noticed. And it's true, I did not go back to the back corner, but where I did go was to the middle of the thing and try to shake it, and it didn't move. And he said that if we wanted to just replace the parts that needed replaced, that he would look into that. And we told him to go ahead and look into it. And that was in, so we had 2 email exchanges, and then I never heard anything more about it. I've never spoken to Mr. Vickers. He has not talked to me on the phone. My mom says she has not talked to him on the phone. And I'm unaware, if you read my statement to the court that I filed as evidence, I'm unaware of any further emails from Mr. Vickers. I honestly thought this was a dead issue. I thought that once we said, hey, the fence seems stable, that nothing else was going to happen to it. My mom is unaware that this was a continuing issue going on. If you read my mom's statement to the court, she did dictate it to me, and I typed it for her and submitted it. She has concerns with the price that he's charging. She does own several investment properties, like Mr. Vickers stated, and has replaced many fences in her lifetime. And she has issues with the price that he's charging. And I can tell you that when we pulled up to the property, it is very obvious when you pull up to the property that his backyard was fully refenced and looking beautiful on 2 sides, and the third remaining side, which was shared with my mom's property, was the only piece that was still old, ugly, and worn. And it is old, ugly, and worn, but it was sturdy. And so basically what the email said is that maybe it'll need replaced at a future time, but it doesn't look like it needs replaced now. And if you look at the photos that Mr. Vickers submitted, he did submit a lot. You don't see in his photos any actual rot. You do see rot on the inside of some of the posts that are in his debris pile in his his trailer. But I can tell you, like, I even used some of his photos in our evidence because there were at least 2 photos that were a close-up of what still remains of my mom's fence, that is the gated portion. And if you look at those photos, you can see that it's old, it's ugly, it's weathered, but the top of the boards and the bottom of the boards are still just as cut, just as true as they were the day that fence was built. In my mom's opinion, it didn't need replaced. And I'd like to close by saying that Mr. Vickers did not have permission to take any action on this. There was no agreement in place. He trespassed on our property without permission. He dug up plants without our permission and removed stuff from the property without permission. All of that happened because you can tell if you read the email chain that he submitted the email chain, we submitted the same email chain. He left one email out. Everything's in ours. You can see that his frustration rising, and that he just says at the end, he says, well, since you're not replying, I'm just going to go with my original plan and build the fence the way I want to build it. So he just did what he wanted. And his property is beautiful now. All 3 sides of his backyard look beautiful now with a beautiful fence. Meanwhile, he expects my mom to pay for it because he wanted his yard to look pretty. It is a gorgeous fence. There's no denying it is a beautiful fence, but whether it needed done or not is what's in question. And there was no agreement in place for my mom to pay for any part of that. And
from your perspective, whose property is the fence on?
I agree with Mr. Vickers. It's probably straight down the middle. I would think that that's probably true. I don't know it any different.
And the pictures that are in here, whose property are they taken from?
That is those pictures, the pictures that Mr. Vickers submitted a lot of pictures. I just submitted 1 page of pictures. It's Exhibit D on our evidence. And there are 2 pictures involved, and those were taken by him standing on our property. That's a picture of the gated fence that we went through to get into the backyard to shake the fence and see whether the fence needed replaced or not.
So the picture in Exhibit D, I'm just trying to understand, that fence there with the gate, that's on your mother's property.
That's correct. And it's a true representation of what the fence looked like. It was old, it was weathered. And that is what the fence looked like that he removed. It was built at the exact same time that the side fence was built.
And then when I look at the second photo, there's a little tent, and then that fence back there, that's the fence line between the 2 homes.
Correct.
And Mr. Vickers, the photos that you submitted, were those were from your side of the fence?
Yes, ma'am. Also, some of them from their side. Now, as far as trespass goes, as you can read in the emails.
Oh, I'm not concerned about trespass.
Okay, well.
That wasn't the purpose of my question. I'm sorry to cause alarm. So when I'm looking, let me ask my question, and then you can let me know what you want to know. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So when I'm looking at this fence, I'm looking at, I think it's the first photo that was submitted. There is a concrete pad, and then there is the fence that I think is in question, and then there's a chain link fence. Is that?
Okay, this is my exhibit, correct?
Yes.
Okay, let me get to that picture. Open sesame, come on. All right, yeah, that chain link fence, that's the back fence, which belongs to neighbor behind me. Their chain link fence runs for approximately 70% of my backyard. The other 30% belongs to another back neighbor, which is a 6-foot wooden fence in very good condition. All right, the fence to the right of me, which is not shown, 50 foot of that is a new chain link fence put up by the property owner there, which is also a rental property. And the front 16 foot I put up in agreement with him putting up the back and me hauling off all the old fence. So therefore, as far as my right property goes, it was all negotiated amicably between myself and the property owner there and taken care of as agreed. I'd done more than attempted to communicate with Miss Heidsman in regards to this fence. And it left me no other option than to resort to the RCWs.
Okay.
I mean, the fence is it's rotted. On the other side, you'll see cinder blocks, which were covering holes from that side. In the front section of the fence, there was a pallet on their side that covered missing boards that were broken off. The back section was fallen over. And if you look at the back where their chicken coop is, which there's about 8 chickens roaming back there, and once in a while, one would crawl through the largest hole in this fence. But anyhow, if there's any indication, it's the back fence of that property, which I don't know which photo. I'd have to sort through here.
Okay, I'm looking at what appears to be the last photo that you submitted. And it's a picture.
If it's the chain link picture of the backyard, my mom has deliberately not repaired and maintained that fence because there's a chain link fence there. It really doesn't
that's
represent.
not what I'm asking about.
Okay.
And I'll give you a chance to respond, okay?
Okay, I'm on the very last picture, second page.
It looks like the one I'm looking at, there's a new fence. There is a tent. And so it looks similar to
that's
the
a chicken coop.
That's a chicken coop?
Yeah, that's their tenant's chicken coop.
Okay. And then behind that, is that the fence that's at issue between your property and Ms. Heitzman's property?
What you see in this photo is the new divider fence between the greenhouse and their property to the left. I'm in the green and they're on the left.
Okay. So that's the new fence.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that's replaced. All the photos of the fence that looked like before it was removed. And what I had done, I had negotiated as low as I could go. And if anybody really thinks that you can have 70-foot of linear fence done for less than $3,000, please show me.
Okay.
And as far as the posts go, Your Honor, a couple of the posts were wobbly. The far back one was broken out. And upon removing all the other stuff, there's also photos of posts with damage that were covered up by the dirt and stuff. Okay. Bottom line is, my philosophy is if you're going to do something, you're going to do it right. I didn't want to have to contend with having to pay for this another couple of years down the road when those posts ended up rotting. So therefore, do it right the first time. Keep the cost down to the minimal, and that's exactly what I had done. It can't be done for any less. And once again, I'm citing the RCWs, and RCWs in my state that both parties are responsible. And I know that it states in there that we're to resolve this stuff amicably before going to the courts, which all the emails, I done my best. I didn't know what else to do, so that's why we're here.
Ms. Heitzman, it appeared that you had something that you wanted to say. Is that related to what you thought I was asking about, or is that something else that you'd like me to know?
No, sorry, I don't have the photos up, so I'm not sure what's being shown in the photos, that's all.
Okay, yeah, it was not related to a chain link fence. Okay, I'm ready to make a ruling. Give me one moment here. So this case involves what I've been calling the law of fences, chapter 1660, which regards partition fences, and specifically partition fences that are erected between two neighbors that are directly on the property line, which is why I was asking about that. Both parties have agreed that the fence line goes directly between the two fences, or excuse me, is directly on the property line between the two properties. And RCW 1660-020 states that when any fence has been or shall thereafter be erected by any person on the boundary line of his or her land, and the person owning land adjoining thereto shall make or cause to be made an enclosure, so that such fence may also answer the purpose of enclosing his or her ground, he or she shall pay the owner of such fence already erected 1/2 of the value of so much thereof as services for a partition fence between them. Now this, the language of this statute seems to contemplate a new fence being built as opposed to replacing a fence, but I think that ultimately the result is the same, that a fence has been built between the two properties, and the law contemplates that the two neighbors shall share that property. I have heard testimony today from Ms. Heitzman's daughter with regards to their belief that the fence was not in need of repair, and I have carefully reviewed the material submitted by both parties. In looking at the fence between the two properties it does appear to me, and again, please hearken back to the information, to the speech that I gave at the beginning of this. I was not there. I do not see it in person. The best that I can do is based on what is in the photos. In examining the photos and listening to Mr. Vickers' testimony with regards to chickens coming through the fence, it does appear to me that while the fence is in some places sturdy, that it does appear that in some places it has rotted out, and that thus it was not unreasonable of Mr. Vickers to replace the fence. It also appears to me that based on there being 70 feet of fence, that the cost of, I believe it was just over $3,000 for replacing that fence is a reasonable cost. And while I do understand that Ms. Heitzman or Mrs. Heitzman may disagree with this, it appears to me that based on the law, the statute that I read aloud to you, based on the photos that I have seen, that Mr. Vickers was not acting unreasonably. His standard of proof is not the same as a criminal trial where he needs to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt, but rather he needs to prove it by a preponderance, which is merely 51%. And it appears to me that he has done that. I will therefore be signing an order in favor of Mr. Vickers for half the price of the fence. Thank you very much.
Those are my court fees too, please.
Let's see. Yes. What are the, let me get this on favor. So the principal amount, I believe, if I have that written down right, is $3,039.06. Is that right?
That was the original amount, correct?
Okay, so we're going to divide that in half. Half of that is $1,519.53. And what was your filing fee and service fee?
Filing fee was $50, no service fee. If I may ask a question, please?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to know how I'd be able to reach out to Ms. Heitzman so that we may have communication so this does not go any further and become more financially involved.
It's my understanding that you have her email address.
Well, apparently they don't read those emails.
Mrs. Heitzman, would that be an appropriate way for, again, I'll ask you to harken back to the speech that I gave. You know, this now enters, you've done the easy part of obtaining your judgment, and now you need to enforce that judgment. So, but I do think perhaps you could agree by email or by mail to correspond, or if you would like to exchange numbers, that I'm going to leave that up to you, but I'm not going to include that as part of my order.
Emails would be fine.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Signing an order in the amount of $1,569.53. With that, you are free to go. My understanding is you can get a copy of this order.
Off our website.
Yes, off of the website in 1 to 2 days.
Yeah, I would say before, by Monday.
Most likely by Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I am going to take a brief recess. It appears that there is at least, I'm guessing, one other hearing today.